Hello and welcome. I'm Alvin, aka the Theorist, the man attempting to put the logical in horror-logical. This one will hit some people with the horror, that is for sure, and others it'll hit with the logic. With me, it's just hitting me with joy. If you're new here, welcome. This is a channel for sharp wits and even sharper wrists. I unbox and review my own watches and share thoughts and opinions from time to time. I've been doing the same on my blog, thetheorist.com, for a few years now. If you love watches, check it out. Link is below. Now, hold on a minute. What's he doing? He's reviewing a cheap Chinese watch, a Pierre Paulin. What the hell is that? His last review was a Rolex Explorer, no doubt, one of the best Rolexes you can buy. What's wrong with this guy? Has he got a bit of that bipolarness going on? Maybe I have. But it's just that I love watches. And I enjoy the controversy and the conversations and the arguments that some of this stuff starts. But I love watches. I love design, history, the craft, the engineering, the art, the stories. I just love it all. I love winding people up as well. And it's not just Rolex that creates stories. We can create our own stories. We can do whatever we want. And I am doing just that. Everyone's different. Everyone's experiences are different. Context. Some people don't like Swiss brands when they think the brand is misrepresenting the origin and quality of their products. Some people don't like Swiss brands because they think they're a rip-off. Some don't want a non-Swiss watch because they value the story, the perceived quality, and the heritage. And some people just value value. Now, we are all under the influence of influencers, of luxury, of social norms, social status, signaling, the pressure of keeping up, just buying into the capitalist dream. Some of us are just trying to fit in. There's a lot going on. And I know that regardless of how much you might be spending, if you spend any money on a watch, you want it to be half decent, you want it to be what you expect. And in line with that, made in China doesn't mean what it used to. Now it means,
oh no, tariffs.
But you can still make it mean whatever you want. At the end of the day, you keep telling yourself whatever makes you feel better. It doesn't bother me. A very quick history on this one then. So Pierre Paulin are a sub-brand of Merkur. Merkur means Mercury in German, and it has a number of associated brands. One is Cézanne, another is FOD, another is Red Army, I think. But they all are owned by the Beijing Time Unlimited Technology Company Limited. We don't know who owns that or if it's linked to any others. Could well be, but we don't really care that much. We just want a good deal. They do and have been doing an assortment of design styles under each of their sub-brands. There is kind of a running theme, and their watches are decent from what I've seen, but they do love an homage. I'm telling you, they love it. Seems that they make their own movements, they have a good variety, and they do use other brands' movements as well. This one is a Seagull movement, I believe, ST17. But generally, they have a decent capability in terms of variety of designs and movements, but they do some bonker stuff as well, which is nice to see, but also not very nice to see, which is a shame. There's no pleasing me, is there? I'm like, stop doing homages, and then when they do something a little original, I'm like, nah, not that. Don't do that, mate. Come on. Let's just get the name out of the way. Obviously, Pierre Paulin is not the guy who designed the watches. There is no Pierre Paulin linked. I'd be shocked if there was. That would be pretty interesting. I look forward to the comments from Pierre Paulin below. But it's the same thing, the naming convention of Chinese watches. Merkur is not the best name, but at least it's just a name. It's Mercury in German. Oh, the god of commerce, financial gain, of eloquence, communication, of travelers, of trickery and thieves. These all work so well within the context of watches that maybe Merkur is the best watch brand name there has ever been. Put that in your watch snob pipe and smoke it. Pierre Paulin is pretending to be some French dude who was an interior designer back in the day. It ain't my cup of tea name-wise, but it ain't the worst thing, I suppose. Purchase. I've been buying Chinese watches since I was a young boy running through the streets of New London. In those days, Seagull had a boutique on Oxford Street, and I would stand looking at those watches for hours. The 1963 chronographs. Oh no, wait. That's a different thing. Anyway, I have been buying Chinese watches for 5 years or so. So the oldest one I've got is the Moonphase Sujess, which has a Seagull movement in it. And that is running just fine after 5 years. Granted, recently it doesn't get a lot of winding, but it's had a fair bit of wear, and so has the Sujess Panda. Maybe I've been lucky, or maybe it's that they are improving in terms of quality control, but I've been quite happy, and I'm happy to continue buying Chinese watches. This one came to me in April 2024, came to me in a dream. It was just on a whim. I think I was browsing and I saw it, and I just liked the design, and it was reasonably priced. I think I went for a bracelet that added £20 or so to the price, so it was 140, I think, for me, which I think is still a decent price for this watch. Yeah, and a couple of weeks later, in my hands, I had the first Jump Hour watch that I owned, and it has been really fun to wear. And now I will be using this watch as a bastion of hope for the Chinese watch industry. And as long as it doesn't break, I will use it as my standard bearer and defender of all things made in China. Okay, maybe not, but at least the watches. Saying that as well, it's been a year since I bought it, and it's running sweet. Can't argue with that. And yeah, in general, my watch collection is about variety. I love watches of many shapes and sizes, and Jump Hours are quite rare in terms of what you can get for a reasonable price. There are some really cool ones out there, like the Chrono Swiss Delphis. There's an Omega Deville, an old one, Tortue type shape. I love that, but it's like £3 or £4. And to be fair, that is one that is on the list. If I found it on deal, that potentially would happen. But there aren't many, under the £1,000 mark. There are loads of vintage ones out there which are quite cool to look at, but it's another game, the vintage watch game. I'm not there yet, I don't think, in my watch collecting journey. I'm getting there, I reckon, but not quite. Design and build quality. Right, this is the big stuff. Let's get the big one out of the way. One of the problems with Chinese watches is that they will homage the shit out of anything that moves, and that is a problem. But with this one, I'm not sure what it is a homage to, but I wouldn't bet against it being a homage to something. They sure do go deep with their homaging. A Blancpain, I found a Blancpain that they homaged the other day. Pretty crazy. Anyway, if you know what this is homaging, stick it in the comments below. It does take from various. It's got the dome glass, got a breguet hand. It's got the guilloche. I don't know what they call it. It's starburst guilloche, maybe. But the dial is something that is a draw. It's quite nicely finished. The detail is good. There's a lot of variations. There are a few things wrong with it too. But overall, it's quite a nice package. There's a glossy, this is the salmon colour, but there's a whole bunch of colour variations, which is also a nice touch. I think this must be quite a popular one because they've gone all out with their different colours and colour combinations, which is good to see. The starburst type guilloche pattern is very cool. It adds loads of texture and it's just nicely finished. The subdial as well, the subdial hand is real tight to the edge and it's got concentric circle finish as well. And then there's raised sections and lowered sections. It's just a very nice dial to look at. It catches the light nicely. There's a lot going on. There are a few things I don't like about it. We'll get to that at the end. But generally, the dial is very pleasing and the blue goes well with the salmon dial. The case, this is a 38mm case, and it's quite simple, to be fair. It's no frills, but it's not bad in terms of finish or quality. It's brushed all over. Case is quite thin, but then the domed glass adds a fair bit of thickness to it. And there's kind of a double step bezel, which is decent. The lug's curved down a little bit more would have been nice, but I think the case is quite simple, but then it's elevated by the dial. The quality is decent. There's nothing wrong with it as such. And I think one of the good things about this, or any watch on Aliexpress that gains a bit of traction, it gains reviews from the watch fam worldwide, which is a great thing because regardless of the watch price, there are always watch fans that go to town on checking their watches with time graphers and hardness meters for the glass. And this one has a whole bunch of reviews from cautious, I suppose, diligent consumers who are just checking things out and making sure everything's as it should be. And the reviews are good in general. I've seen very few bad reviews and they've been about slow deliveries and things, but this is one of the things about the watch community that we love. There's a lot of information out there and people are keen to share their experiences, and that's what brings us all together and we help each other in this way. So thank you to all those people who left reviews and made me comfortable enough to want to buy this. Right, we'll go into a few bad things, or a few things I don't love. The bracelet, the design is decent and it fits nicely. It's not janky or jangly, but it is a bit of a hair puller. It's not a bastard hair puller like the Timex, but it has caught a few. And yeah, it's not a deal breaker, but I did want to try it on a strap. And now I have, and I like it a lot. Other things that I do not like. I suppose this could go into wrist experience as well, but the legibility of the hour window is a bit tight, is a bit small, so you have to pay attention sometimes. If you're not sure what hour it is, like me, if you've been sitting on the computer on Chrono 24 for several hours, yeah, you can't just turn your wrist around and have a look. You might have to get in there and have a look. It's not a deal breaker, nothing too bad, but just something I've noticed. I usually like a signed crown, but on this they've used a Merkur one, so there's an M on it, which is uncool of them. And the center dial, well, where the central hand connects, it looks a bit like an open wound. They haven't tried to keep it tight and tidy, which is a bit of a shame considering the rest of the dial is quite nice. You know what would be better? If the hour window wasn't at 12 o'clock, because the hand gets in the way. You want to see the time tick over the hour change, and you can't because the hand's in the way, which is just a little bit annoying. I've seen them at 9 o'clock, which works. 3 o'clock. I don't really like it at 6, but I've seen some there. So yeah, that's a thing. You can't have it all. On wrist experience. As you can tell, I do enjoy wearing this watch. It's fun to look at. It's joyful. I think the colour helps. It's kind of bright, but a bit glossy. And it just is good. It feels good on the wrist at 38mm and a lug-to-lug of 47. Not sure what the thickness is, but I'm guessing it's around 12mm. Like I said, the fit on the bracelet is quite nice to wear it loose. And then on the strap, wearing it a bit tighter, more snug to the wrist. It still fits nicely, looks good, and I like that versatility that it has. It is quite a fancy dressy finish, but it can be worn casually quite easily, especially in the various colours that they've got. The back of this is quite cool and different, a bit kooky. It's Pierre, the watch tech. He's got his loop on. He's having a good look in there, having a good fiddle with the movement. Pierre is well into it. The text Team Merkur, cool. Design peaking. Now, I don't know if they've missed the A out and it's supposed to be design peaking, or if he's peaking at the design, so he's design peaking, or if it's designed in Peking. I think Beijing used to be called Peking. It all comes together. I'm on it. There's a lot going on here. There's layers to this. Let's move on. The strap here, this dirty green, it's almost blackish. It fits well. It looks good. I wasn't sure if it was going to work color-wise, but it does. It's nice to have some variety in the collection, like I was saying. So with the one hand, the Jump Hour. And it's good to have a small seconds on there as well. It's just a nice package to have on the wrist. Of course, if that PP was Patek Philippe, it would be a bit nicer. And they do a cracker of a Jump Hour. I think it's an older one, but that's about £30,000 or something, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. Another thing that I don't love is the numerals that they've used. I guess the font. It's a tricky one because they've got to make them italic, reasonably smart to go on the dial. They don't want them too bold. They can't make them too big because of the space that they've got there to fit it in. But yeah, they are very close to the edge, some of them, so almost cut off, which isn't the best look. But on the bright side, I do like the distortions and the refraction that the domed glass causes. It just adds a bit of interest, shakes things up a bit. I guess we've got to get to what it feels like to wear a Chinese watch when you're used to wearing like brands that you're happy to show off and to feel like, yes, I'm just scratching my face here. Can you see what watch I'm wearing? But in this case, it's not one you'd show off, but it is potentially one that can get noticed for looking decent. And then you've got to explain, it's a Chinese watch, and then you've got to go into Chinese watches and try and win people over, which is a little bit annoying sometimes because there's likely to be some kind of some kind of preconceived idea or a mindset about Chinese goods and things that are made in China. So you might have to explain the vibe and what's been going on in the watch industry and how things are and what the crack is. Because the Panda is one... The Suggest Panda gets noticed and it looks good. It's quite bold, it's big. And then you have to tell a bit of a story, which is nice in a way. But if they're not watch people, they're not really that bothered. They just said, oh, that's a nice watch. But the thing is, there's an underlying expectation of a nice watch being an expensive watch. And some people don't want to hear about the background. But I will, if somebody compliments it, I will say, oh, thanks. This is a trash Chinese watch. You must be a moron for thinking this is a nice looking watch. What's wrong with you? You got shit in your eyes or something? Yeah, something along those lines. That's what I'll go with. Or I'll tell them a nice story about how Chinese watches aren't what you might be thinking they are. Some of them might be, others might not be. I've just had an idea for the Theowrist Chinese watch consultation service where you pay me the same price as the watch and I will make sure that you get a half decent watch. Perfect. Competition. So in the collection, it's a smart everyday piece. And the strap makes it more casual. I don't have another Jump Hour, so no real competition in that sense, but the Lobini in its red trousers, smart casual piece. Tudor Glamour, also smart cash, pretty versatile pieces. In general, In terms of general competition, at this price point, the only competition are the ones that use the same movement from Suggest, Merkur. They're all decent, and there is no competition in the wider world. I think to look at, the Suggest Ice Blue dial is very nice as well. Be interesting to see that in the flesh.
But generally, this has no competition.
Value for money. Talking about money, I was like, damn, she nice. She cheap. Wait, that's a different story. This watch is all the way worth £140. I can't think of anything I'd rather spend £140 on. Nor can I think of anything I've enjoyed as much for £140. It's been a year, I'm still enjoying it. And no, I know what you're thinking. And that Lady of the Night was a bit more expensive than that. Anyway, this is a Seagull ST17 movement, and Seagull movements are as solid as a Chinese movement can be. In fact, they're as solid as any budget movement maker. I have 4 watches with Seagull movements in, and they're all solid. I've got a bunch of watches, movements from all over the world: Japan, China, Switzerland, America. And the one thing they've got in common is that they're all put together by machines. And machines know what they're doing. From Rolex to Suggest, machines, people, not people. You're going to say, oh, how can you compare such things? Rolex to Suggest. Oh, the horror. Fanboys are shitting themselves. You tell me the difference, fanboys. What's the real difference? It's all the same. Yeah, of course. I'm winding you up a bit. Sure I am. But it's like buying a cheeseburger. You buy one from McDonald's, it's tasty. You buy one from a proper burger place, and it's tasty. It's the same stuff, slightly different ingredients, a bit of different prep. Both tasty. Deal with it. I think that's it then. I think we're done for this little joyful number, this little horological cheat code that we have here. You know, it is what it is with this. Some people will just adamantly despise anything to do with non-Swiss watches. But, you know, this is a fun watch for the price. I do wish I'd got one that didn't say Pierre Paulin on it, but I'm glad I tried a different Chinese brand and didn't go with Suggest again. So yeah, the fact is that just like Swiss watches, some are better than others. With Chinese watches, some are better than others too. Are any Chinese watches better than Swiss watches? Yeah, for sure. This is better than every Hublot that there is. So there you go. So the downsides were there's little design touches that fall short a little bit. If the case was a little more curved, if the crown had the right logo on it, that would be nice. There's nothing major though. And I know for some people, if they're buying a watch, 150 quid, and it might be their only watch. And when it comes to that, you know, you do want everything to be right. And in this case, there are enough variations of this watch to, I think, find the right one to be happy with. And I think I am in this case. But as a watch fan, as a collector of watches, there's always going to be things that don't quite live up to expectations or that let you down a little bit. But from my perspective, this watch is a cracker. And I will continue to wear it and enjoy wearing it. And I might buy a different variation of it in the future sometime. I'll continue to champion Chinese watches in context and potentially make a video on this because there's a lot to talk about. And I've covered a fair bit in this video, but I'd like to focus a focused rant on this aspect of watch collecting and watches. I think that's what's coming soon. I think that will do it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Leave a comment and let me know what you think. Just mind your language, will ya? I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one.